So the RPE scale is something I've always struggled with both mentally, because I just don't understand half the things going on with it, and physically, because everything always feels really heavy when I lift. But that being said, I've tried to dummy it down for myself, and since I have seen more benefit, and I am enjoying it, and I think it really has a place in almost everybody's training. So I figured today I'd just talk about some of the things that I do or how I view it, in the hopes of helping anyone else there that might be struggling as well. So first, to understand what RPE is, or the Rated Perceived Exertion Scale. It's a scale that goes from 0 to 10 and measures intensity. So an RPE of 0 would be something that takes no energy, like blinking your eyelids, versus an RPE 10, which would take all your energy, or like a 1 rep max. One of the issues I've had is that most people who utilize RPE training only really use RPE 7 through 10, because anything less than an RPE 7 is very hard to gauge how intense or how much energy that is taking up. So I don't even bother with anything below a 7, unless it's like a deload week and I'm just trying to do something light. Then I'll just do something light, but I don't worry about rating it, because at that point of my training, it's probably not going to make much of a difference anyway. So let's turn our attention back through RPE 7 through 10, and how do we think about these, or better yet, how do we feel about these? Because RPE is all about understanding your feels, and truth be told, something I've never been good at. But that being said, what's really helped me is trying to correlate it to other training principles I've always instituted in my training. So I've never really been a big fan of training to complete failure. Instead, I've always told myself, make sure you leave a couple of reps left in the tank. And that's really what I think RPE is to me, except much more specific. So if we start in an RPE of 10, which I already mentioned is an all-out effort set, or not leaving anything on the table, taking a step back from there, an RPE of 9 would be 1 rep left in the tank. An RPE of 8 would be 2 reps left in the tank, and an RPE of 7 would be 3 reps left in the tank. Now, obviously, when we talk about a max effort or an RPE 10 set, that's something that's very easy to tell, because you probably just barely completed it. There's probably some form breakdown, a grinder, whatever the case may be. You definitely know you left it all out on the table. What becomes tougher to tell, however, is as you start getting further down the RPE scale. And again, this is one of the reasons why we throw out 0 through 6 when it comes to training. Now, there are half steps as well, so a 7.5, 8.5, and 9.5. And to me, the way I've always looked at these is a way to be a little bit more conservative. So where a 7 would be I have 3 reps left in the tank. A 7.5 would be I might have been able to do 3, but I'm not sure. An 8 would be 2 reps left. An 8.5 would be I might have been able to do 2. And obviously 9 being 1 rep left. A 9.5 would then be I might have been able to do 1 more. But again, I'm not too sure. And this is traditionally how I viewed it. But recently, I watched a video by Andy Askow, which I'll link in the description box below, where he had a little bit different of a thought process behind it. So for example, let's say I'm supposed to do a single at an RPE of 10 or a 1 rep max. I do that, but things feel really good. So good, in fact, that I feel like I might have been able to do 1 more, but again, I'm not sure. So I'd probably rate that at a 9.5 and leave it at that. But Andy makes the point of, yes, you might have been able to do 1 more rep, but you definitely could have done a single for more weight, because that was an RPE of 9.5. So I never thought about the weight aspect of it. I've always just thought about it as reps in the tank. So that's going to be great for me going forward, because it gives me a little bit more sunshine and positive vibes going forward. And in the past, this might have been one of the things that led to my confusion, because when I first switched to RPE, I did a lot of reading about it, and one of the things that I found were there are a lot of conflicting viewpoints on it, and the thing that's helped me the most is just utilizing it in my own training and trying to get better accurately gauging what things are on a given day. And now that I'm at that point, listening to other people speak about it, it's easier for me to take it in, because I feel like I have a better understanding overall of the system. Now, I'm someone who's always really liked percentage-based training. I like being able to look at my programming to know exactly what numbers I'm lifting on the next session. But that being the case, one of the advantages RPE has is that it allows you to really regulate the weights based off how you feel, whereas percentage-based training doesn't really allow that. So for example, if I go into the weight room and I don't really feel that well, or I've had a bad day at work, or I haven't eaten enough food, and I go in and I'm supposed to hit certain numbers and I just can't do it for one reason or the other, then I'm going to feel pretty shitty about myself. In fact, that's probably going to carry over to the rest of my day, and more than likely knowing me into my next training session as well. Or on the flip side, let's say I feel really good that particular day, and in the back of my mind, I'm really questioning if I should have pushed the numbers more because I felt like it was there, but I didn't really want to stray again from my programming. Well, RPE can cover both of those instances, because again, it's really based off how you feel on that particular session, on that particular day for that particular exercise. Now, that being said, percentage-based training is still in my protocols, and I think a big reason for that is my judging of RPE is still not 100% accurate, and a big part of that is oftentimes in training, things generally tend to feel heavier than they are in reality. So in training, I might be logging my RPE and using a certain weight and rate it at an RPE of 8, but later on, since I film everything and going back and editing clips, I see the weight moved really well, and I definitely had 3 more, so it was more of like an RPE of 7. Having some percentage-based training thrown in with RPE can help me because it'll make sure that I'm pushing myself accordingly, even though if I think things are heavier than they are. Now, one of the things that's also really helped me assess RPE better is also keeping track of what's known as Last Set RPE. So let's say, for example, I have to do squats for 3 sets of 5 at an RPE of 8. I'm more than likely going to pick my working weight based off of that first working set. But the problem is for sets 2 and sets 3, that RPE could change some as I become fatigued. So while the RPE might be stated at 8, my last set RPE might be an 8.5, or it could potentially even be a 9. What that tells me is I need to do a better job of picking my working weight to account for fatigue as well. So this has helped me really fine-tune things. So these are some of the things that have helped me understand RPE better and implement it in my training, and I definitely think it's been beneficial. So hopefully, if you're interested in RPE or using it, this was somewhat helpful to you. If you have any questions, you can always leave them in the comment section below, and I will try to do my best to answer you or point you towards other information that I have found helpful myself. In the meantime, as always, thanks for watching and stay big.